Malignaggi for Paulie TV. We're back. We're in the house. We got combat and coffee, and we're ready to talk all things boxing. What's going on, fellas? What's going on, everybody at home?
What's up, Paulie?
A lot of boxing. A lot of boxing is going on. A lot of boxing.
Too much. Too much. And more boxing being announced, too, with Fury Usyk 2 announced.
Fury Usyk 2 is in December. You know, that's a big fight. The IBF, I heard, was going to strip Usyk, but Usyk was able to get the exemption. So Ergovich and Dubois now this weekend is not going to be, or not, is that this weekend, Ergovich and Dubois, or no? Is that this weekend? These Saudi cards got so many good fights that you don't realize what's a main event and what's not a main event. It's crazy.
I don't see it on my calendar.
Either way, Ergovich and Dubois is coming up soon. That was going to be for the IBF title, but now Usyk is getting an exemption. That's fine. I still like the Ergovich-Dubois fight. I think it's a great fight. But I think Usyk and Fury is a dynamite fight. See, that's what I was trying to say here when I was a little bit on Pro Box TV as well. I say when you get the top two guys in every weight class fighting, you get great fights because those are the guys supposed to fight. You're not supposed to get 1 versus 5 or 1 versus 6 constantly. You know what I mean? Like Canelo likes to do. You need 1 versus 2 consistently. You know what I'm saying? And when you get a 1 versus 2 matchup, a lot of the times it's a great matchup. You know? I mean, think about it. Usyk and Fury, you make that fight. It's a great fight. When it was Joshua and Wilder, when they were 1 and 2, that would have been a great fight when they were number 1 and 2. You would just match up the 1 and 2, and when there's a winner, so another number 2 comes in and replaces the old number 2. You can just keep matching those. They're great fights, and that's what people want to see. People just want to see great fights, man. It's just, I don't know. But this rematch, and then what happens? A lot of times you end up with a rematch that people actually want to see because the matchup is so close and so closely hotly contested, you know? So I think it's going to be another good fight. It's funny because the last year I think they had a card around that time frame, right? Was it the Joshua Wallin card? It was around the end of the year as well, right? In Riyadh. So I think it's becoming sort of a customary thing over there in Riyadh.
Hergovich versus Dubois is this weekend too, by the way. It's this weekend.
Oh, Hergovich Dubois is this weekend. All right, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. The Saudi card's got so many good fights, honestly, man. It's like you don't even know everything on that card this weekend. First of all, is a good fight. You know, think about it. I mean, you got even Zenat. Let me tell you about Zenat, bro. Zenat, the guy who's replacing Benavidez, is kind of a sneak good fighter. You know, he's just like he's like a backfield kind of guy. You know, I mean, I'm not gonna say he's gonna beat Bivol, but Zenat can fight, bro. Zenat can make a little bit of a name for himself with a good performance. Maybe enter the fray a little bit. You know, I've seen that guy fight. I remember years ago in Italy they were talking about Zenat because Zenat's Libyan. You know, and he fought on the European circuit a little bit, being a Libyan guy, and he was a little bit known in Italy as well. Some Italians in the boxing gyms there told me about Zenat. I'm talking about years ago, and I had no idea who it was. Nobody ever picked him up, so I guess nothing ever happened with him until now. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I hear this guy's name again. So it's pretty crazy, you know.
What kind of name can you make for yourself?
Who's that guy in the background fighting? Who's that guy? That's me. Many years ago. Man, good looking. Look at that good looking bastard. Look at that sharp jab. Those are the days.
How do you tell?
That's when I won the IBF title. That's when I won the IBF title. That guy Endo was a rough dude, man.
Yeah.
You ever seen Endo against Cotto?
No.
Endo against Cotto was a war, bro. That guy against Cotto was an absolute war, bro. That's why I remember because I lost to Cotto the year before, no one had to fight him. I was kind of scared. I was like, oh man. I was like, this guy went to war with Cotto. I was like, this is gonna be such a tough fight. And
do you remember the odds?
No, I think I was favored.
You're favored?
I think I was, but a lot of people were picking against me. I remember, I think Max Boxing and Steve Kim picked against me. Or Sector Steve, I actually fought with him. But I remember, I think Doug Fisher might have picked against me. There was a few. I mean, honestly, I was still kind of unproven. I just had the Cotto fight, and then I beat Ed the Cherry. And other than that, I hadn't had a fight at a high level. Why Endo had been a really rough character, bro. Endo had been a rough character. He lost a razor-thin decision to Cotto. And he'd been robbed against Sean Mitchell for the WBA title, and then he just won the IBF title. So, I mean, he was a rough character.
I mean, he's a beast. I'm not saying.
But I got
you were
so
in great
sharp,
shape too.
I just boxed him. I was like, because this guy loved to fight. This guy, if you banged on him, this guy loved it. He never got stopped. He had a great chin. If you bang with that guy,
Pause.
you were in his wheelhouse. I'm telling you, bro. I just boxed him and I said, forget this guy, forget the machismo, forget everything this guy's gonna try to bring. Just be technical. You know, I was life or death really because I already lost one title fight the year before. So if you lose another one, you're probably not gonna get another title shot for a while. You know, that's how I was looking at it. But so I took an approach that nobody else took. You know, everybody else was trying to hurt him, knock him out, and then they wound up in really tough fights. I was just like, bro, I'm gonna box the shit out of this guy, and that's it, man. I'm just gonna keep it very, very technical and just be faster than him and sharper than him. That's what I did, you know.
Speaking of, I mean, what do you put this bivol fight at against Zenad? That's not a 50-50 fight to you. That's
No. There's big odds on that. Like
yeah.
there's wide odds. I'm just saying, you know, I still Zenad is a huge underdog. I don't think he wins only because Bivol is not the kind of guy who loses focus. You know,
Yeah.
But if Bivol was like a Western fighter, you know, where they sometimes lose focus, I would say Zenad is like kind of a banana peel kind of opponent. Those Eastern fighters, they come focused all the time. They don't underestimate anybody. So I have a hard time seeing Zenad win. But Zenad can fight, bro. Zenad may be able to make it. I'll tell you what, Zenad may be able to make it in a way where people criticize Bivol for the performance. I'll tell you that. He's good enough where because people don't know him, but he's better than people realize, it may not be a perfect performance from Bivol, and people may start criticizing him.
What would it mean for a boxer
You
to
know,
kind of step in like that and but to actually win like against somebody like Bivol, who's not necessarily the most
here's the thing
marketed
with this.
fighter, but very
The thing
respected.
about a guy like Zenad, when you're in that position, if you win, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's upset of the year type stuff. But
Yeah.
even if you don't win, it's the kind of situation where nobody knew you before. So if you're able to put on a good performance,
Yeah.
you now enter the fray because you put on a good performance against the guy. Think about it. I mean, for all intents and purposes, Canelo lost 11 or 12 rounds against this guy, Bivol, right? 10 or 12 rounds, right? I mean, so in realistic terms. So if Zenat is able to, you know, give some problems and win a handful of rounds, already his performance against Bivol is better than Canelo's performance against Bivol. In theory, again, that's basically what you're looking at here. You're not looking at really Zenat to win the fight. Maybe there's some prop bets you can take on Zenat, but I don't think Zenat wins the fight. But I think Zenat is potentially a guy who makes Bivol not look great. You know,
I kind of he's from Libya, born Libya.
Libya.
Yeah,
That's what I've been
and
telling you. That's what I've been telling you.
nickname the Trigger. 22 total fights, 16 wins by knockout, light heavyweight. Last fight was in April last month.
Yeah, no. He's there.
Yeah,
He just nobody
he
picked
fought in
him up for big
Australia.
fights.
Wow.
I'm telling you, this guy's all over the place. I'm telling you, I've heard good things about him. He's just never been picked up. You know, kind of a spoiler type of style, I guess.
Interesting. Well, that's something to look at. And we're bummed we're not going to get the undisputed matchup we wanted, but we're getting this, and maybe it's a chance for an upset.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be an upset, but like I said, I think in the meantime, you'll be able to talk about it and engage it. You got Zhang and Wilder. That's a good fight. You know, you got those are two medalists from the 2008 Olympics. They didn't win gold, but they both won medals at the '08 Olympics. They've both been at a high level. Both kind of question marks about how much each guy has left. You know, I think Wilder landing a right hand and it's a big potential because the southpaw Zhang doesn't move his head and he's kind of just lumbering straight ahead. But if he's not able to land that big shot, Zhang's gonna back him up, and Wilder backing up is horrible. So I think you know, potentially it's you could see either result really. You know, you could see Wilder walking him into a big shot and then knocking him cold, or you can see Zhang picking up momentum and backing him up. Listen, I'll tell you what, I know Sean George, who trains Zhang, bro. Sean George is a very, very intellectual boxing trainer. He was a cerebral fighter when he was fighting. I know him since the amateurs. If there's anybody who knows how to build a game plan around the guy who's possibly shot as an opponent, which is Wilder, you know, yeah, I could see Sean building up, devising a game plan for Zhang to give Wilder problems. And all you got to do with Wilder is give him just a little bit of problems. You start backing him up, and the momentum takes care of itself. But if Wilder is able to land that big shot, it's always the same thing, Wilder. But in this position, it's a little bit different because Zhang is a southpaw who doesn't move his head. So that right hand has more of an entryway. So, I mean, really, it's a tough one to pick. But I think because it's one of those, you could see either thing happening. It's solid. It's a solid matchup.
And this is all in that 5-for-5 card. I'm just realizing or 5-versus-5 card in Saudi, which I'm just realizing has all these fights. I thought all these fights were lined up across the summer, but no, they're all on Saturday.
Yeah, you got it. No, that's what I mean about the Saudis, bro. They put up enough money to put a bunch of main events all in one card. It's pretty solid. It's pretty cool. It's pretty good stuff, you know.
Yeah, I guess they don't care. The whole thing that came after the Fury versus Usyk match was that people getting upset about the pay-per-view. And I guess that didn't factor into the fact that they scheduled a rematch. Like how much does with pay-per-view and illegal streaming now affect
I mean,
if a
I think it probably
fight
affects
gets
a lot.
remade?
I think it probably affects a lot. The problem with boxing is they've turned people, even the fans within the sport, against the sport by putting on pay-per-views that were totally worthless so many times. I mean, you look at honestly, I think Gervonta Davis is a good fighter, but most of his pay-per-views are worthless. You know what I mean? Like he's fighting guys who you don't ever heard of. He's fighting the guys you never heard of until they fought him on pay-per-view. But those aren't supposed to be pay-per-view fights, you know? So I think when you corrupt the pay-per-view market like that, you turn people to more and more stealing of it, you know? I think that happens. Saudis, though, they actually do make great fights. Even I'd say, dare I say, pay-per-view worthy. It's just, they're not at an ideal prime time for the U.S. The U.S. market on Saturday afternoon does not want to watch fights. You know what I'm saying? There's so much you're competing against on Saturday afternoon. First of all, you're competing against the NBA playoffs this time of year, Saturday afternoon, NHL playoffs Saturday afternoon this time of year. So, you're really, it's a tough time to be able to put on Saturday afternoon fights in the West. Even in Europe, you're competing against soccer or football. You know what I'm saying? So the seasons are coming to an end. It's the nitty gritty of the soccer season too. So you know you probably got to adapt the times a little bit, and that'll probably help you with the time frames. But I really don't think that the sheik over there, Turkey Al Sheikh, the prince, I don't think he cares. Like he's got
I
so
was
much
gonna
money.
say, I think it's the one
I don't think I
country.
like if you tell him he lost money, he's gonna tell you, nah, bro, I don't care. Like we make great fights. Were you entertained? Was I entertained? He's gonna be like the guy in Gladiator. Are you not entertained? Yeah, I'm entertained. I'm not
Yeah.
complaining. Whatever.
I guess the biggest thing for making those big fights in boxing are people don't care about losing money, which maybe is what boxing is. People
Well,
that don't care about losing.
that's a rarity. That's a rarity, and I'm
Yeah.
sure nobody tries to purposely lose money, but I think it's more of he's more liking the fact that he can become the face of boxing and the face of making these big fights, that nobody's been able to make, And you know what? I'll be honest with you, he's making a little bit more efforts too in terms of that what I just said, because the August 3rd card, it's his card, but it's in LA,
Hmm.
so he is trying to shift the market a little bit and adjust to that, So he's not like he's just doing it just to do it. The only thing I don't like is he's a bit of a casual in the fact that some of the fights he wants to make, like he wants to make Canelo and Crawford instead of Canelo and Benavidez, or he wants to make Gervonta and Inoue instead of Gervonta and Stevenson, And like
Yeah.
those are kind of like casual, exciting matchups. They're not really truly exciting matchups, that at least not in my opinion, While the
I
other
think it's
ones,
like
the
somebody
ones
who
that the
has all
other,
the money in the world can just be like, oh, I want to see this. I want to see this. I want to
yeah,
see
yeah,
that.
if in the '80s you would have made Sugar Ray Leonard against Mike Tyson. All right, but not really,
That'd be
So it's kind of
interesting.
like that. And it's not that. That's my only critique there. If he was a bit more of a hardcore, we would have the right matchups and the right weight classes, and guys going head to head. That would be terrific.
Malnaji versus Tyson, Malnaji versus Pacquiao, Malnaji versus Mayweather, and may have happened if they were around back then. Speaking of losing money,
I got out with my head intact. I'm good. At least I think I got my head intact. Some people might disagree, but good.
good. I mean, you can't take the comments in if you can't read them, right?
Yeah, of course. But
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's a love hate with my fans. I think
Yeah.
the people that are on the page, I think they tune in and they enjoy the conversations, even
Yeah.
if they tune in to disagree sometimes. I'm not going to agree with everybody all the time. You're not going to agree with me all the time. Think
Yeah.
about it. If you tune in just to hear somebody you agree with all the time, life would be kind of boring. Don't you think? I mean, I feel like it would. Like I sometimes
Yeah.
enjoy hearing a different perspective. Sometimes to learn, and sometimes to be like, what is this guy talking about? What is he out nuts?
Yeah.
But sometimes I look at it and I'll be like, okay, that's something to think about. Like I didn't think about
Yeah.
that. Like it depends how emotionally attached you are to your conclusion. That's why
Yeah.
you shouldn't be emotionally attached to any of your conclusions. You
Yeah.
should just vibe with them from a tactical standpoint. That's society sometimes.
Well, in October and November, we'll go full political on here, and when there's no boxing on, and we'll do a full election coverage, and we'll bring people on, and
No, I don't need the election. No, I don't need the election.
I'm joking. I'm
Honestly,
joking.
honestly, bro, Like for example, with 2020, people think like, Paul, you're Trump. I'm not either guy, man. Honestly, like I think they both they both. It's not like something I have an issue with the whole political system. I'm a little bit deeper than that, bro.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I'm so deep in it. I can't talk about it on YouTube.
I
We
know,
lose the
I
page.
know, yeah. I know. I don't want to get shadow banned.
We don't need no politics. We can do a Euro 2024 show in case
yeah, yeah.
soccer, football.
Well, I was piggybacking off losing money. Josh Taylor versus Jack Catterall ended up happening 2 years too late this past week.
Yeah, I mean that's boxing. At least it happened, right? Most of the time, these things don't even happen. Bob Arum gave his best attempt at doing my post-fight rant against Juan Diaz all over again, right? You saw that?
No, I didn't. I heard he went into the ring, or I heard something. I
The
heard
only
he was.
problem is I don't think Josh won the fight. Josh's problem is he fights a left-hander just like he fights a right-hander, where he's trying to tap his way in instead of shooting that
Yeah.
jab. And so he tries to walk into range and then fight. And Catterall's not letting you because Catterall actually flicks out that jab and stings it. So he's hitting you on your way in. Josh, on the other hand, as good as he is once he's inside, he does some good combination work. He does some nice punches together. He still looks to get there and then punch. And against a right-hander, because you're fencing with your hands, you can do that. But against a guy in your stance, I know it from right-hander versus right-hander fights most of my career. You need your jab. But the other guy's jab will offset you, and you won't be able to walk in like that. So I think Josh just, had a tactical mistake fighting the southpaw who knew how to jab. It's kind of a shame because Josh P. Prograis was a good left-hander, right? I mean, so I don't know years ago, but Catterall's jab, Catterall's shiftiness. I'm telling you, I thought that was the difference. Obviously, when they got into this combination punching and all that stuff, but I think it started really off Catterall's jab first. It was because Catterall as a southpaw jabs, Josh as a southpaw looks to get there, then throw punches. It looks to get there, then jab. It looks to get there, tapping his way in while Catterall's flicking that shot out. So I think that's a non-starter. It ends up turning into a non-starter for Josh, and then from there, momentum built. So the momentum was able to build more consistently towards Catterall. Obviously, on the inside, at times, Josh also did some good work. I thought it was a decent fight, better than the first one, but I still thought Catterall won the first fight. I mean, yeah, Catterall won the second fight, and the first fight is a very good case for that one too.
There's a butterfly effect in boxing if he's awarded that decision. Was how would we rate him if he won that now?
I don't know because now it's difficult to rate Josh because that's two in a row, right? He lost to
No,
Teofimo.
for Jack.
Catterall, yeah. I mean, but that's boxing,
we'd see him as
that's
this pound for pound fighter, maybe, right?
And that's boxing, bro. I mean, think about it. If I get the decision over Broner at the time I fought Broner, they had Broner number 5 in the pound for pound list when I fought him. You know what I mean? If I get that decision, butterfly effect, right? I mean, who knows what it leads to? Probably leads to a Mayweather fight. It's boxing, right? I mean, the politics stuff. Yeah, I mean, forget about that. The money's, listen, the money's always good, but I'm not the kind of person that it's only about the money and all about the money.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm financially secure, it's not only about the money. As long as I'm financially secure, so I don't worry. I don't worry as much about like the money. Obviously, would have been great. It did cost me a lot of money not getting that decision, but I think about the opportunity too. The big moments you lose out on. And Josh kind of lost out on that too by not getting the first decision. But unlike me, he was able to get a rematch.
Yeah.
So which also sets up a possible third fight. Who knows? A little bit of controversy with Bob getting in there and giving a rant. Maybe it set up momentum for a third fight. Who knows? Yeah, listen, 140-pound division is a good weight class, bro. Some good fighters. I don't know how they can maneuver in and out of it. I think there's a lot going on there. A lot going on. Some good fighters.
And it's just weird that Taylor said he was leaving in that weight class like two times.
Yeah. I mean, maybe now that's it. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, he says he can't stop making weight, but then he makes it again. Yeah. I don't know. And you know what? If there's a time to go to welterweight, it's now. Welterweight is kind of barren right now. There's a couple of good fighters starting to enter the fray there, but you still got an opportunity to put your name in there. It's an opportunity maybe for Josh to go to 147 at this point. Maybe before it was too full. But now it's kind of a hungry for big names. There's an opportunity there at 147 for Josh to go up there. So we'll see.
How sweet would it have been to win the undisputed title, though?
What are you gonna do, man?
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Let's look back at this past May, Paulie. I want to ask you, out of all these big fights, which was your favorite?
Take that. I don't know, man. Week to week, I already got a bad memory. My short-term memory's
Week to
bad. Which
week, you
ones
want
do
me
we
to
have? We had
refresh you?
both. So we had
Usyk
Canelo.
Fury, we got Canelo. I'm gonna just throw Garcia
Probably Usyk
Haney in
Fury.
there, but I don't know. Do we
Yeah,
count that now with Ryan testing? Like, how do we look at that fight now?
it's a fight. The fight happened. I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do with the results. That's weird, you know.
Yeah,
But
the B
yeah, I
sample
mean,
came back positive. Both
yeah,
other tests. It seems like Ryan was juicing. It looked like Ryan was juicing. Now that we look
yeah.
back at the
Right.
fight,
At this point you can cognitively say Ryan was juicing. I mean, at this point, it's kind of obvious. You know, I explained on Pro Box TV the reason it came out so. Because I've talked to a couple of the experts. Every time
yeah,
this happens, I'm always trying to learn a little bit more. And that's what I tell people. You know, nobody tries to learn anything about this; they just make their own decisions. Basically, when you in between camps, you max dose. During camp, you micro dose. That's how you beat the drug test. So by microdosing, you don't have enough in your system to be within the bloodstream. It stays within your fat. Okay. But you have the effects from the max dosing between camps. Now you've let that wear out. You've let the drug testing time frame wear out so that you don't fail the tests from the pre-fight doses that you were doing, the
yeah.
pre-camp doses that you were doing. During camp, you'll microdose to maintain now, and it'll stick in your fat, and that won't get into your bloodstream if you do it right. Which that's why these guys have expensive doctors and phlebotomists and all this other stuff. Here's the issue for a guy that makes weight, and that's why you see a lot of these guys just going up in weight so they don't struggle to make weight. That's why a lot of heavyweights don't get caught, and also why you see, a lot of guys just going up in weight ridiculously. Hint, hint. Not gonna name any names, but this way they don't struggle to make the weight. So, in Ryan's case, why did he? Why does he fail? Why does he pass the middle of camp drug tests but fail the day of the weigh-in drug test and the pre-fight drug test? It's because at that point he's drained. Remember, he struggled to make weight. So some of the effects, some of the ingredients leaked out of that fat that it was stored in from the microdosing. Because now the fat is diminished because you're killing yourself to make weight. So now you're getting this trace of. That's why they always fail with trace, the only trace amounts.
Yeah.
So you're a groupie, you're gonna say, "Oh, that's what is he gonna do with that amount? That's nothing." If you're a groupie, that's how you're gonna reason. If you're a logical person who goes into the delves a little bit deeper into the um the science of it, you're gonna realize, oh wow, this was a whole process.
Yeah.
He's doing it the entire. Now you can kind of read the whole process that he's doing it. And I don't really care for the comment groupies from the comments because I've got experts who multiple experts who told me this exact same thing that I didn't tell them. I heard from another expert this time. I wanted to hear it, and two different experts talk to me and explain it the exact same way of how this is done. So if you look at it, really, that
That's
also
why going
explains
up is so much easier because you don't have to
also,
lose
well,
that.
yeah, yeah, because you'll retain all the strength and everything. You'll keep them, but you
Yeah.
won't. You won't.
When you cut,
It's
you won't.
harder to
Yeah.
catch you. Harder to catch you, unless you're a moron like my buddy Jermell Miller. I love Jermell, but he got himself into all those messes.
Where
That's done very, very disorganized.
after a fight like that happens, like I know our initial reaction was, oh well, Devin, all this stuff. But where does it fall into the canon like a boxing matches? Like when you look back does it go into the disgrace fights list? Is what I'm talking about. Like Margarito, versus Cotto
I
into
mean, for
that.
me it does, but I mean, people
Yeah.
don't care. People don't care. When you really think about it, most guys in this sport are on it at this point. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? If you look at weight classes matter less and less every generation. So if you think about it, that's probably why.
Yeah.
Even in this generation, you have guys jumping crazy weight classes. Like when Pacquiao was doing it, I thought it was so obvious, but I didn't understand the science of how he was getting away with it yet. First of all, for a while, Pacquiao wasn't even. Again, allegedly, you have to say allegedly because he never failed. But first of all, for a while, Pacquiao was refusing the random drug tests altogether, which was wild that you can even do that. But then even afterwards, you have this methodology where even with the random drug test, there's a way to do it, like I just explained to you. Well, I'll just say this: I'm glad I'm not fighting anymore. I'm glad I'm not fighting, so I don't have to fight this. I don't have to try to go on crusades and people like try to stain my name and be angry. Oh, you're just jealous that you couldn't accomplish anything. No shit, I couldn't accomplish everything, bro. I mean, I'm not on the shit that they're on. How am I ever going to accomplish it? You know what I mean? So, it's not really a thing like that. It's more so I don't really fight it. I just find it very, very interesting when I learn it, and so I just try to pass on the things that I learn and the things that are told to me and the things that because I have the privilege to be able to have access to certain kind of people like that. So for me, you know, when I learn something, I try to share it on the page, and that's what that was the latest thing I learned as far as the methodology of this kind of dosing and why these guys are failing in these trace amounts, even like allegedly, again, you have to say, like somebody like even Alicia Baumgartner, for example, failed in the same way, trace amounts, same thing, so yeah, it's interesting, and like I said, also it makes you observe. There's a lot of there's guys who just jump up weight classes like it's nothing now. Like they're going down the street to get a candy. So it's very very different than it used to be.
And testing, it depends on countries too that you're based in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's random drug testing. They try to implicate it a little bit more. They try to include it a little bit more now in bigger fight camps. But either way, you're still not training. You're still not getting tested between camps. So there's different kind of dosing between camps and during camps. So and it'll keep guys going. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean,
I
yeah.
could, I could probably run off a list of names of guys that I think are doping, but then everybody would hate me. And I don't really have the time to really give a crap anymore because I'm not fighting, so it's not
Hmm.
affecting my possible health. You know what I mean?
Even
So
my favorite fighter, I won't say who, I have a weird feeling he could be doping, but makes sense based on circumstances. But like you
yeah,
said, it's part of the game now. And if I was
yeah,
gonna fight somebody above me, I'd juice up.
yeah. I think at this point, what the shame is? I think at this point you kind of have to cheat at this point because if you think about it, if you're there at a level and you're not cheating, you're risking yourself getting hurt badly. Because you're going to win against these kind of guys and you're going to get yourself hurt badly. You're risking getting hurt bad.
That's an
So you
interesting
you
take.
put guys you put guys who maybe wouldn't have wanted to do this. You hear me? If
Yeah,
they
yeah.
reach a certain, they're in a position where if they don't do it, they might get hurt. Like you're basically creating this double force here where you're trying to stay clean, but how do you stay clean? It's like, and I remember thinking about it, like when I remember when Billy Joe Saunders got caught before he fought. It was before he fought Canelo, but before that, Canelo had gotten caught. So I always remember thinking, like, think about it. What is this guy supposed to do? The guy he's chasing is the guy who just got caught and barely got penalized. So of course, naturally, he's gonna think to himself, "Man, what if I get a fight with this guy? I got to make sure I'm up the level too, right?" Granted, it didn't help him, but nonetheless, what I'm saying is, you get on that level, and I think because the sport is so dirty, the business is so dirty that it's almost like if you don't be careful, you're gonna get yourself hurt. It's not about winning. It's not just about winning and losing, having a chance to beat these guys who may be doped up. It's also a chance to, oh man, if you don't do it, you might get hurt. And again, I mean, there's probably people in the comments that are gonna cry and whimper and wish that that everything was look at everything through rose-colored glasses, and that's fine. I mean, I don't have a problem with people living in denial. It doesn't affect my life. Like I said, it doesn't affect my life at all anymore because I don't fight anymore. So I don't go and harp on it. But I like I said, I just try to share what I learned. And in this particular situation with the Ryan Garcia thing, that's what I was learning. That's what was being told to me by some smart experts. And I'm sure there's still more to learn. There's always more to learn. But I think it's cool to share it. If you don't want to agree with it, I think you might be an emotional person, but doesn't mean doesn't make it not true. And of course, there's probably, like I said, more to learn even for myself.
Yeah, I mean, piggybacking off that and what people are able to do off those these new supplements and new ways to get away. UFC 303 is in June as well.
Which one is
McGregor
that one? Is
versus
that the one with our buddy
McGregor.
Connor?
Yeah, yeah, versus
Right.
Chandler.
I think it's
And
like it's interesting. It goes to show you the level of big name that he is, because this is like the battle of shot fighters. Think about it. Like Chandler's kind of shot and McGregor's kind of shot. Like, and this is not even and I'm, people, everything. I know the thing about this thing about talking about Connor. Every time I say something, people think like I'm being insulting. But like you're scraping the bottom of the barrel at this point, dying to try to get this guy a win. You know what I mean? Like Chandler's kind of shot, McGregor's kind of shot. Have you ever? It speaks to the level of stardom McGregor has, though, that he's able to shot versus shot, and that's a main event with probably fighters on the undercard. They could probably beat them both. I'm
yeah,
sure. That's what it's come to. But you got to give him credit for the star power he's been able to achieve again, it wouldn't have been possible without the most idiot fan base in the world to fall for be that gullible. But nonetheless, you you still got to give him credit for putting in that work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't see him losing this fight. Honestly, I can't. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how shot he is, but I can't see him losing. You know, also he wouldn't have he refused to random drug test, so God only knows what he was taking. You know, like they took off. UFC stopped working with USADA for this guy, bro. It's crazy. You know, it's wild. They stopped drug testing guys for the sake of him fighting. It's crazy. So I don't know, man. I mean, if you put all those things together, it's hard to see him lose, but we'll see. It's always exciting when this guy fights because everybody's always talking about it.
Will you be tuning in?
I mean, if I got nothing to do that night, and I probably get invited to a fight party. I mean, I don't go out of my way to watch MMA fights. Honestly, I don't remember the last UFC card I watched. Honestly, but I do watch them at times. It's not like I'm like, oh, ain't time. Like I'm friends with some MMA fighters and mostly former MMA fighters, but very good, even Hall of Famers. You know, I'm friends with them. I text with them. You know, like so it's not like I'm anti MMA like the fan base things. I just think the fan base is some of the dumbest people I've ever seen. I wouldn't think that people that dumb could exist unless I actually dealt with them, and then I was like, wow, it's like these people exist. You know, but I mean, I'm friends with several fighters in that community, or even ex-fighters, and like I said, some Hall of Famers, and get along, man. Fighters always going to get along. That's the thing. Fighters are always going to respect each other.
All right. Well, that's why.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, except for you and Conor McGregor.
Well, yeah, there's always going to be beefs among fighters too. That's separately. You know what I'm saying? Like even among other fighters, I don't really think a lot of MMA fighters like Conor McGregor though. I don't get that vibe
Yeah.
from a lot of MMA fighters now. I don't know.
Yeah. You didn't pay
Maybe the younger group fighters that are like coming up the ladder that just want to look up to him. But I don't think like guys like at a certain level. I don't get that. I don't get the feeling like most guys like him. You know, and not all though. I will say not all, but certainly a lot of those guys at that higher level. I didn't really get the gist that they really cared from.
I recently rewatched. I've never seen it. Your Toronto press conference. When you guys went to Toronto to cover their tour before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that was crazy. I've never seen that before. That was crazy.
That was a good press conference, man. I'll
Yeah.
tell you what, Canada has some big numbers in MMA community. I guess maybe because George St. Pierre was such a big number. Canada has the hugest amount of MMA fans. I mean, that press conference was crazy. You know what I mean? And that's also where I realized Floyd's not really that great of a trash talker. He's just you got to be witty. And Floyd has never been in a situation where somebody also put him on the spot. He always had the full floor, and nobody had to really put him in a situation to be quick, be sharp. And that's what I realized, like, because Conor is witty. That's why one thing I would have enjoyed was in the press conferences with him, because me and Broner went back and forth excellently. You got to be witty with certain guys. But Broner's a good trash talker. I was a good trash talker. McGregor's a good trash talker. That would have made – they could have charged you for the press conferences.
Speaking of Broner, we have AB this month, and we're talking about that. It reminded you of when you're going to the –
Yeah, man. Yeah, I saw Blair Cobb bring that
puppet.
balloon, man. I totally forgot I had this plan for the last press conference. So the Fight Week press conference, which you guys obviously can watch on YouTube, the Fight Week press conference was a pretty good press conference too, for me and Broner. Both press conferences really were, but the Fight Week one was really a really good one. I remember because I know Bobby Rooney, who manages Beetlejuice. He's an ex-fighter, Bobby, and Beetlejuice from Howard Stern. I was gonna get Beetlejuice. I called Bobby. I was like, "Yo, is Beat in town?" And he's like, "No, Beat has a gig this week. Because Beat always got invited to gigs and he got paid. Beat was like a Howard Stern celebrity. Because I wanted to get Beat and dress him as Broner and bring him to the press conference. I was gonna have, because remember Broner's short and he's loud and stuff, especially at that time with young Broner, So it had been back and forth the whole camp, the whole training camp. So my plan was to get Beat, who at the time loved me. Probably now he doesn't even remember me, but at the time Beat was in the gyms, Beat was everywhere because Bobby was an active fighter. So on the East Coast. So I was gonna dress Beat. I was gonna put some chains on him and dress Beat as Broner, and then just let him go off and mouth off. And I was gonna put him on the table. So it would have been better than Blair Cobb's balloon, because Blair bought a balloon and dressed as Broner. And it reminds me, I'm like, oh man, I was like, I was gonna do this, man, but I was gonna do it with Beat with a live person.
Yeah.
Bro, think about the fact that that fight was so popular, how much it sold, and think about the fact that if we would have done that, it would probably still be viral. It would probably still be viral, man. The things you miss out on, the what ifs, man. But yeah, Beat had a gig that week, and it was already penciled in. Like that Bobby couldn't get him there. He was out of town somewhere. I don't know where he was. Another gig. So
That would have been
so
an
it didn't.
all-time clip.
So, but we still had honestly we still had a good press conference. But
Yeah.
me and Broder, honestly, man, you couldn't go wrong with me and Broder in those days, bro. You just couldn't. The only way they went wrong is not making a rematch. Honestly, I look back on it and I'm like, man, that was good. That was fun. That was funny
You
and
think
fun.
he beats Blair?
Honestly, I don't know enough about Blair. I don't really see Adrian being that hungry as he was before. Like I see him kind of trying to he in England they call it old manning it, which is kind of what we all do when we get a certain age. I used to do the same thing. And you old man it is basically like you try to use your veteran tactics to try to BS your way through rounds and then win a decision. So you fight more to not lose than you do to win because you're not as hungry anymore. And you have those veteran tactics because you're cerebral, you have all that experience at a high level. So you're able to win. But if you get a young guy who's too energized, you're not able to old man it against him and he beats you. So I don't know. I don't know enough about Blair, but I
Blair's
feel
not
like
the youngest. He's in his I think he's like 32. I met him once
I,
at Patrick's gym. Yeah,
oh,
and he was
okay.
already 30
But
by then.
the thing about AB is that he's been kind of old manning it already, and he's kind of away with it in recent fights. But I don't know. We'll see. Because Blair is kind of more of a known entity than his last opponent or two, right? So
Yeah.
so Bill Bear's got a little bit of a following himself, so it could be interesting. You see the poster said Blair Cobb at Adrian Broner if Adrian shows up.
If Adrian shows up, yeah.
I guess even Don King's not doesn't have much faith in it.
Yeah, shout out Don King still doing it. That's crazy.
Don King still doing it.
Still
Big
doing
time.
it. Oh my
I
God.
think Nate Campbell was working with Adrian Broner, if I'm not mistaken. Nate Campbell was the
Yeah.
ex lightweight 130-pound world champion. Nate was a badass, bro. Nate was a badass. I'll tell you what, if Nate's working with AB, I'll at least say then it depends on how long they've been working together, really, because AB it depends when AB shows up at camp. Because without that part, you can't control. But if they had a long camp together, I tell you what, Nate would get an AB in shape because Nate's kind of like a drill sergeant, old school type of guy. Um, but it just depends when Adrian showed up to camp. To be honest with you, and that you never know. The dude might show up last week.
Yeah. All right.
So,
Well, that we're about to run out of time on the Zoom, but you want to wrap it up real quick?
yeah, wrap it up, man. That's it. Next Wednesday, check us out for Wednesday Night Fights on Pro Box TV every other Wednesday. We are actually going to go on next Wednesday, and then we're going to go take off in the middle of the month. And then we have an announcement. We're going to do our first title fight at the end of June on Pro Box TV. We're gonna announce it next week. So tune in next Wednesday night for Pro Box TV on June the 5th. And check out the rest of our schedule for the rest of the year. And for more fun news, you get us every day. We do different talk shows every day.